The Hazbin Hotel was its usual chaotic self. Husk was nursing his unkempt drink of the day. Angel Dust was arguing with Vaggie about his creative interior decoration ideas, and Nifty was darting around trying to clean up everyone's messes. Over it, Alastor's usual ominous laughter filled the air as he observed the chaos with glee. Then came the knock. Charlie jolted at the sound. A visitor? It was rare that anyone willingly approached the doors of the hotel, unless they were desperate or insane. Wiping her hands on her skirt, she approached the grand double doors, hesitating for a moment before yanking them open. Her eyes widened. Standing on the steps was a toddler. You, tiny, barely able to stand without wobbling, with wide, innocent eyes and a confused look on your face. Charlie instinctively glanced around, searching for a parent or anybody who would have left you there, but there was nothing. Just you and a small bag at your feet. What the? Charlie crouched, speaking softly. Hey there, little one. What are you doing here? You only babbled something incoherent, reaching your arms out to her. Oh, no, Charlie muttered, panicking slightly as she picked you up. Where are your parents? Who left you here? You, of course, didn't answer, instead giggling as you tugged on her hair. Charlie's panic softened for a moment as she looked at you. She looked at you closely. You didn't seem scared or hurt, just lost. Still, this was hell. What kind of twisted circumstances had brought a toddler to her hotel? After a moment of indecision, she sighed and carried you inside, the heavy doors slamming shut behind her. The chaos ground to a halt when Charlie called for a house meeting. Everyone gathered reluctantly, grumbling as they dragged from whatever mischief they were up to. When they saw you, the room fell silent. Is that a baby? Vaggie asked, eyebrows furrowing. Aw, look at the little thing, Angel Dust cooed, immediately leaning down to pinch your cheeks. They're freaking adorable. How'd they end up here? That's what I'd like to know, Charlie said, shifting uncomfortably as she held you. I just found them on the doorstep. No parent, no nothing. Somebody's probably dumped in there because they knew you were such a bleeding heart, Husk muttered, taking a swig from his flask. That's awful, Nifty gasped, darting closer. Who'd do such a thing to a poor baby? Alastor, who had been usually quiet during the commotion, now he stepped forward, his crimson eyes glinting with something unreadable. Well, isn't this a delightful little surprise? He said, his ever-present grin widening. A little bundle of innocence in the midst of all this depravity. How intriguing. Charlie shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. Alastor, don't even think about it. They're just a child. Why, Charlie, you wound me. Alastor placed a hand over his heart, his grin never faltering. I wouldn't harm a hair on their darling little head. In fact, I find myself quite captivated. He stared up at him with wide eyes, seemingly unafraid of the grinning radio demon. In fact, when he leaned down and you reached out and grabbed his tie, giving it a little playful tug. Oh, Alastor chuckled. A bold one, aren't you? Alastor, no, Vaggie said firmly. You're the last person who should be anywhere near a child. Now, he replied smoothly, plucking you from Charlie's arms with a surprising amount of gentleness. You insult my character, dear Vaggie. I am perfectly capable of caring for this little one. Aren't I, my tiny friend? He responded by babbling happily and patting his face. The rest of the day was, to put it lightly, an adventure. Alastor had insisted on taking care of you, much to everyone's dismay. Surprisingly, he seemed to know what he was doing, or at least maybe he acted like he did. He conjured a high chair from thin air, setting it up in the dining room with a flourish. Mealtime, he declared, as he placed you in the chair, and the others just watched in a mix of horror and fascination as he prepared something for you. "What the hell are you feeding them?" Husk asked, eyeing the pink concoction Alastor had placed in front of you. "Only the finest cuisine for our honored guest," Alastor said cheerfully. "A delightful mix of strawberries, cream, and a touch of, well, that's my secret." Despite everyone's mild concerns, you happily devoured the food, smearing most of it across your face in the process. Alastor beamed, clearly pleased with himself. Later, Angel Dust decided to test how far Alastor's patience would go. He tossed a plush spider onto the floor in front of you and said, "Hey, kiddo, go ahead, give it a squeeze." You picked up the toy and hugged it tightly, setting off a loud squeak. Your eyes lit up and you giggled uncontrollably, squeezing it again, and again, and again. Alastor's grin faltered slightly. He didn't stop you. Instead, he turned to Angel Dust with a warning look. "Careful, Angel. I'd hate for something unpleasant to happen to your beloved toy collection." Angel raised his hands in mock surrender. All right. Jeez, toots. Can't even have a little bit of fun." By the end of the day, you had completely worn everybody out. Even Alastor, who prided himself on his boundless amount of energy, seemed a little frazzled as he held you in his arms. Charlie approached him cautiously. "Alastor, I know you've taken a liking to them, but we need to figure out where they came from. They can't just stay here forever." But isn't it a delightful thought?" he mused, gazing down at your sleepy face. "Such innocence, such purity. It's almost enough to make one nostalgic." "Alastor," Charlie said firmly, "we have to find their family." He sighed very dramatically but nodded. "Well, my dear, I suppose that even the best things must come to an end. For now, though, you stayed as the hotel quieted down for the night. Alastor gently placed you in a makeshift crib as he conjured, watching you sleep curled up as you drifted off. For the first time in a while, the Hazbin Hotel had felt almost peaceful. The next day, the Hazbin Hotel was uncharacteristically quiet that morning. For once, there was no arguments, no loud music, or drunken brawls filled the halls. Everybody, including Charlie, was actually enjoying the rare peace. Alastor, however, was not one for the idealness. He thrived on chaos, on energy and mischief, sitting in a lounge with you. And the baby was left in his care. Reluctantly, he found himself pondering an important matter, feeding you with a bottle, though Charlie had managed to scrape together a few supplies. They were insufficient, since he planned to have you for a while. Long-term care. Glancing down, sitting in the makeshift playpen with your curious eyes fixated on the squeaky toy, Alastor grinned. "Well, my little friend," he said in his usual chipper tone, "seems like we have quite the quest upon us. And what's a quest without a little bit of danger?" You, of course, offered no argument, simply babbling happily, as he picked you up and he adjusted you in the crook of his arm to retrieve his microphone staff with his free hand. With his signature flair, Alastor trode out the door, leaving behind a baffled Husk and Angel Dust who were seated in the lounge. Where's he taking the kid?" Husk muttered, narrowing his eyes at Alastor's retreating figure. "Hell if I know," Angel replied, shrugging. "The guy is always up to something weird. Not my problem." When Charlie finally emerged from her room later that morning, she was instantly greeted by the sight of an empty playpen. She froze, her heart sinking. "Where's the baby?" Angel, lounging on the couch, lazily gestured towards the door. Radio Goof took him somewhere. Didn't say where. He's probably teaching him how to be creepy or something." Charlie's face paled. "What?" She grabbed Angel by the shoulder, shaking him. "How could you let him take them?" Whoa, calm down, princess," Angel said, pulling away. "It's not like I could stop him. The guy's terrifying." Oh no. Charlie began pacing around the room, running her hands through her hair. Alastor's completely unpredictable. I mean, this is a baby. What if something happens to them? She rambles, barely making any sense of her sentences. Relax, Husk muttered from his seat, nursing his drink. Kid's probably safer with him than they are here. Nobody messes with the radio demon. Charlie did not look comforted or convinced by that. We have to find them. Meanwhile, Alastor had arrived in the Pentagram City, carrying you in one of his arms as he navigated the crowded, dangerous streets with ease. His sharp grin and imposing aura ensured that everybody gave him a wide way to walk. No demon dared to approach him, let alone the tiny, squirming little bundle in his arms. Now, my dear, Alastor cooed, looking down at you as gurgled happily. This city's full of unsavory characters, but fret not. I shall ensure your safety. A few bottles and supplies, and we'll be on our way. Your response was to babble and tug on his bow tie. Alastor chuckled, adjusting you in his hold. Such a spirited little thing. I dare say you're braver than most demons here. He strode into the decrepit shop that looked more like a hazard than a business. Inside, the storekeeper, a withered demon with a hunched back, immediately froze upon seeing Alastor. Radio demon, the shopkeeper stammered, his eyes darting nervously. Ah, yes it is, Alastor said cheerfully, his grin widening. And I require supplies for this charming little companion of mine. Bottles, formula, and anything else suitable for a baby. The shopkeeper didn't hesitate, scrambling to gather everything Alastor had requested. As he worked, he cast wary glances at you, who was now chewing on one of Alastor's gloved fingers. You have a baby? The shopkeeper dared to ask, the confusion in his voice. Indeed I do, Alastor replied. A temporary arrangement, of course, but one that always must be prepared for such a delightful little surprise. Within minutes, the shopkeeper had packed a bag full of supplies and practically shoved it into Alastor's hands. No charge, he said quickly, bowing his head. Splendid, Alastor exclaimed. Your generosity shall not go unnoticed. Farewell. He left the shop, humming a jaunty tune as you giggled in his arms. Back at the hotel, Charlie was frantic. She had already searched every room and surrounding grounds, and even called out onto the streets. Where could they be? She wailed, pacing around the lounge. Relax, princess, Angel said, filing his nails. He'll be back, probably, maybe, sorta. That's not comforting, Charlie snapped through gritted teeth, throwing her hands up. Just as her anxiety reached its peak, the front doors creaked open. Everyone turned to see as Alastor strode in. His usual unnerving grin plastered across his face, and his arms, you were there, sleeping soundly, your tiny head resting against his chest. I'm home, Alastor announced, his voice radiating cheer. And I come bearing gifts. He gestured to the bag slung over his shoulder. Charlie rushed forward, her face a mixture of relief and fury. Alastor, where were you? You can't just take the baby into a city without telling anybody, she rambled. Nonsense, my dear, Alastor replied smoothly. The child was perfectly safe with me, and might I add, our little adventure was quite a resounding success. He carefully handed you to Charlie, who cradled you protectively. You stirred slightly but remained asleep, your tiny hands clutching the corner of Alastor's coat. Charlie glared at him. That's not the point. You should have told me where you were going. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Alastor's grin didn't falter. Oh, but where's the fun in that? Besides, I dare say that the baby rather enjoyed our little outing. Isn't that right, little one? You let out a soft, congealed sigh in your sleep, snuggling closer to Charlie. Sheesh. You're lucky there, okay? Andrew muttered. Charlie just sighed, her anger fading as she looked at you in your peaceful pace. Just don't do that again, okay? Of course, my dear, Alastor said, bowing theatrically. You have my word. For now. And of that, he turned and strode away, whistling a jaunty tune. As Charlie settled down in the chair, holding you close, she couldn't help but wonder what kind of chaos Alastor had brought you into. But for now, at least, you were safe and sound, and blissfully aware of the trouble you had caused.